Get serious, get smart, ladies and gentlemen, dreamers and doers. There comes a moment in every life when the mirror becomes a battlefield, not against time or age, but against excuses, and in that moment a question rises like thunder: when are you going to get serious about your life? Let me be clear, nothing changes until you get serious. You can wish, you can hope, you can daydream for decades, but wishing doesn't build empires, hoping doesn't craft success. Daydreams don't pay the price of greatness. Only serious intention backed by smart execution creates real transformation. You see, too many people live on autopilot. They wake up, they go to work, they come home, and they sleep, rinse, repeat. They exist, but they don't live. Why? Because they've never declared war on mediocrity. Because they've never said, enough is enough. I'm ready to build something meaningful with my life. Getting serious is about making a decision, an unshakable, unbreakable decision, that your goals are no longer negotiable, but seriousness alone is not enough. You must also get smart. This world does not reward effort alone, it rewards results. And results come from wisdom, strategy, and relentless improvement. Getting smart means you learn, adapt, and evolve faster than your obstacles. It means you don't just work hard, you work right. You study the game, master the craft, and stay 10 steps ahead. Remember, a lion does not waste energy chasing shadows. A lion calculates, pounces, and conquers. Be like that, strategic, sharp, unstoppable. You were not born to crawl through life unnoticed. You were born to build, to lead, to rise. But that future only belongs to the person who wakes up every day and says, I will no longer wait for permission. I will no longer postpone my power. I will get serious, I will get smart, and I will get everything I came for. Decision is power. There is a force in this universe stronger than talent, louder than circumstance, and more enduring than luck. That force is decision, not the casual, half-hearted kind of decision that is forgotten before breakfast. I'm talking about a decision forged in the furnace of certainty, the kind that changes lives and bends reality to its will. Every person who has ever risen from obscurity to greatness began at the same point, a decisive moment where they refused to accept life as it was. In that instant, something inside them hardened, became unshakable. They didn't ask if it was possible. They didn't wait for permission. They made a decision that they would, they must, and they will. The world doesn't bow to people who try. It yields to the relentless, to the decided, to those who declare their intent with such fire that failure dares not follow them. You may lack resources. You may lack connections. But if you are decided, truly decided, you are already rich in the only currency that counts, personal power. Think back to every success story you've heard. Strip away the glamour, the achievements, and the headlines, and you'll find it began with a single, defiant choice. A person said, no more, or I must, or this is mine, and the universe, slowly, then suddenly, moved to make it so. That is the law of decision. It attracts energy, people, ideas, and opportunity with magnetic force. A real decision shuts the door on retreat. It does not tolerate distraction. It does not entertain Plan B. It is a mental marriage to a future only you can see, but one you're willing to die for, if that's what it takes. Anything less is a wish, not a decision. You can tell who has decided by the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they act. There's no hesitation in their eyes, no apologies in their tone, no uncertainty in their movements. Because when the mind is made up, the world takes notice. Indecision is the silent assassin of dreams. It whispers, it delays, it drowns you in 1,000 tiny doubts, and every day you hesitate, you're feeding a life you don't want. But when you make the right decision, the real decision, something inside you changes permanently. You stop asking what if, and start saying what's next. Understand this: circumstances don't shape destiny, decisions do. The moment you decide to rise, everything you need begins to reveal itself, not all at once, not without challenge, but inch by inch the path appears. You walk by faith, and results follow. So many people walk around with talent sealed inside them, greatness buried under their fears, and potential rusting in silence. Not because they couldn't, but because they never decided to. That's the tragedy of this world. Not that people fail, but that they never begin. And that's where the true power lies. In the beginning, in the bold act of choosing, not hoping, not waiting, but choosing right now that your life will never be the same again. Mediocrity is a choice. Mediocrity is not a sentence. It is a selection. It is not something forced upon you by fate. It is something accepted, tolerated, and ultimately chosen. People often act as if average is a condition they were born into, a destiny they were assigned. But the truth, as sharp as it may sound, is this: no one stays mediocre without their consent. You were not born to blend in. The very structure of your mind, the depth of your imagination, the fire of your desires, was designed for more. Yet most allow those flames to smolder under the wet blanket of conformity. They surrender their uniqueness to the dull rhythm of routine, not because they lack talent, but because they lack decision. And without decision, you default to the average. There is comfort in the middle, and that is its greatest danger. It asks nothing from you except your ambition. It seduces you with safety while slowly robbing you of your soul. The mediocre man is not a fool. He is simply one who gave up the fight. He accepted good enough as his ceiling and turned his back on greatness, and he did it one excuse at a time. Mediocrity has many disguises: procrastination, perfectionism, laziness masked as logic, and fear dressed up as humility. It tells you to wait for the perfect moment, to seek more information, to keep your head down. But every one of those whispers is a chain, holding you in place while time slips by unnoticed. The world does not punish mediocrity with violence. It punishes it with irrelevance. The average man is forgotten not because he wasn't kind, but because he wasn't committed. He floated through life, touched no edges, took no stands, left no mark. He lived to survive, not to serve, not to build, not to become. Those who rise above the fog of the average are not superhuman. They bleed, sweat, and stumble just like everyone else. The difference is, they refused to settle. They looked mediocrity in the eye and said, "Not me, not now, not ever." And from that refusal came strength. From that defiance came identity. From that identity came legacy. Ask yourself this: who benefits from your mediocrity? Who gains when you shrink? Who wins when you remain silent, small, safe? The answer is no one. Not your family, not your future, not the world you were meant to change. Playing small serves no one. It only ensures that you will one day look back with the bitter taste of regret. Do not confuse humility with hiding. Do not mistake peace for passivity. Greatness is not arrogance. It is responsibility. It is the full use of your gifts in service of something bigger than yourself. And to bury those gifts under mediocrity is not modesty. It is betrayal. A betrayal of your potential, your purpose, and the people counting on you to rise. You do not escape mediocrity by hoping. You escape it by declaring war on it, by refusing to let one more day pass in quiet desperation, by demanding more of yourself, not someday but today, and by reminding yourself over and over that you always have a choice. Every action you take, every thought you allow, every standard you hold, these are the votes you cast for the life you live. So let others coast, let others compromise, let others choose average, but you must choose something greater, because deep down you already know mediocrity was never meant for you. Discipline creates freedom. There is a cruel lie whispered to the masses that discipline is a cage, a punishment, a joyless grind, and yet the truth is the exact opposite. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it is the engine of it. Where there is no discipline, there is only drift. Where there is no order, there is chaos, and in chaos there is no liberty, only reaction, regret, and lost potential. Look at any man or woman who commands their destiny, and you will find discipline at the root. Not as an accessory, not as an occasional effort, but as a way of life. Freedom is not handed to such people. It is earned day by day through the mastery of self. It is earned in the moments when they do what must be done, even when they don't feel like it, especially then. Discipline is the refusal to negotiate with weakness. It is the inner law you write for yourself that says, "This is what I will do, regardless of how I feel, regardless of who's watching, regardless of the weather, the mood, or the hour." That kind of power cannot be bought. It must be built. The undisciplined man is a slave, first to his impulses, then to his distractions, and finally to his excuses. He may appear free, but he is ruled by whatever is loudest in the moment. He says yes when he should say no. He scrolls when he should study. He sleeps when he should rise. And he wonders year after year why life never bends in his favor. Discipline is the bridge between desire and achievement. Anyone can want, anyone can dream, but only the disciplined can manifest, because they do not wait for motivation. They act from principle. They don't chase the feeling. They become the fire. Understand this. Success is not about doing big things occasionally. It is about doing the right things consistently. It is about showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one claps. That is the invisible labor of the uncommon. That is the secret most people overlook. While others binge distractions, the disciplined build empires in silence, and yet the reward is not only success, it's self-respect. There is no feeling on earth like looking in the mirror and knowing that you control you. That no urge, no fear, no fatigue owns you. That you are not the passenger of your life, but the pilot. This inner power is worth more than money, more than fame, more than approval, because it cannot be taken, only given away. Discipline is not deprivation, it is alignment. It is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It is rising early, not because the morning is easy, but because the mission is sacred. It is saying no to distractions, not because pleasure is bad, but because purpose is better. And when you live this way, you don't feel trapped. You feel free. The truth that few accept is this: chaos looks like freedom, but leads to slavery. Discipline looks like slavery, but leads to freedom. Most never make it past the first test, but those who do, they unlock a level of power, clarity, and peace that the average man never touches, not because he couldn't, but because he wouldn't pay the price. You don't rise by chance, you rise by choice, and the greatest choice of all is to govern yourself. For the man who conquers his own mind, his own time, his own emotions, that man can never be defeated. Because he is no longer bound by the world, he has become bound only to his vision, and that bond is unbreakable. Clarity crushes confusion, a fogged mind produces a fogged life. A man without clarity is like a ship without a compass. He may drift, he may float, but he will never arrive. The greatest tragedy is not aiming high and missing, it's aiming at nothing and hitting it with perfect precision. Clarity is not a luxury, it is the foundation of all achievement. Confusion is the silent killer of potential. It doesn't attack you like a storm, it seeps in like a slow leak. You don't even realize it's there until your days are muddy, your goals are distant, and your energy is scattered in 1,000 useless directions. Without clarity, a man may work hard, yet still fail. He may be busy, yet never progress. Clarity is power. It sharpens your mind like a blade. It strips away the unnecessary and exposes what matters most. When your vision is clear, your actions become precise. You stop wasting time on distractions, and you start investing energy in what moves the needle. That kind of focus becomes a weapon, one that cuts through noise, doubt, and resistance. The undisciplined mind asks, "What should I do today?" The focused mind already knows. Clarity turns decision making from a struggle into a strategy. You don't need to hesitate or overthink because your path is already defined. You've already chosen your outcome. Now you're just executing with unwavering intention. The man with clarity moves differently. He speaks with conviction. He acts without hesitation. He doesn't seek approval from the crowd because he already has alignment with his mission. He doesn't chase, he builds, and because he knows where he's going, the universe begins to open doors. People notice, resources appear, momentum gathers. The confused man, on the other hand, is forever stuck in motion without meaning. He jumps from idea to idea, from task to task, mistaking activity for progress. He's always busy, but never effective. He starts many things, finishes none, and worst of all, he begins to lose faith in himself, not because he's incapable, but because he never gave himself clear direction. Clarity begins with truth, brutal, unfiltered truth. What do you want? Not what sounds good, not what others expect, but what burns in your gut and keeps you restless at night. Once you uncover that, you must define it, describe it, and lock it in your mind like a sacred contract. Because without a target, there is no aim, only noise. A man with clarity becomes immune to distraction. When the vision is clear, the temptations lose their grip. Why scroll endlessly when you have a mission? Why envy others when you are busy building? Why quit when you know where you're headed and why it matters? Clarity breeds resilience, and resilience forges champions. It's not enough to simply want success. You must know what success means to you in vivid, measurable, specific detail. Vague goals produce vague results, but when your vision is sharp, your steps become deliberate. You don't wander, you pursue, you don't react, you create, you don't chase shadows, you walk in light, and the beautiful irony is this: clarity doesn't limit your freedom, it expands it. Because when your path is known, your time is honored, your energy is protected, your future is no longer a gamble, it becomes a calculated outcome, and in that state of alignment there is no confusion. There is only power, precision, and progress. Study to soar. Every man who ever rose from the shadows of obscurity to the heights of power had one tool in his arsenal that others ignored: the hunger to study. Not classroom memorization, not idle reading, but relentless, purposeful, strategic learning. Learning with the intent to rise. The mind, when trained and directed, becomes the most dangerous force in the world. Too many walk this earth trying to win a game they never bothered to study. They expect results without research, rewards without refinement. They want the crown but refuse the curriculum. But understand this: the man who refuses to study is not unlucky, he is unprepared. He doesn't lose because of fate, he loses because of ignorance. The marketplace, the battlefield of life, the climb toward greatness, these are arenas for the informed. When you study the terrain, the tactics, the minds of masters who came before you, you step into life with weapons others don't even know exist. You walk into challenges already knowing how they play out. Because you've seen it, you've read it, you've rehearsed it in the arena of your mind. Learning is not a phase, it is a requirement. A man who stops learning is a man who starts dying. He may still breathe, but his progress, his potential, his passion, they begin to rot. Because the world keeps moving, evolving, accelerating, and those who remain stagnant are left behind, not with a bang, but with a silent fade. Real study demands discipline. It means reading while others watch television. It means listening to wisdom while others argue over nonsense. It means asking questions when your pride wants to pretend you already know. It means being a student of life, not once, but always. Greatness is not a product of luck. It's a product of deep understanding applied with unwavering commitment. You don't guess your way to mastery, you grind for it. You hunt for it in books, in failures, in conversations with the wise, in relentless self-examination. And once you find it, you use it. You do not hoard knowledge, you weaponize it. A man may be born with strength, but strength without knowledge is clumsy. He may have passion, but passion without direction is reckless. Study gives shape to your fire. It sharpens your instincts, clarifies your vision, and upgrades your execution. And that's the difference between movement and momentum, between noise and results. Some mock learning as weakness. Let them, the loudest voices are often the most insecure, but the wise man studies in silence and speaks only when he has something worth saying. He doesn't just consume knowledge, he absorbs it, he reflects on it. He lives it until it becomes a part of who he is, not just what he knows. The man who studies deeply and consistently becomes dangerous in the best possible way, not loud, not boastful, but effective. He moves with confidence because he knows, not because someone told him, but because he sought it, proved it, and lived it, and knowledge lived becomes wisdom. So while others sleep, study, while others talk, listen. While others coast, prepare, because life does not reward the man who knows the most trivia. It rewards the man who learns what matters and applies it with precision, passion, and persistence. Excuses kill execution. There is no greater assassin of achievement than the excuse. It slinks in quietly, disguised as logic. It wears the mask of reason, of fairness, of circumstance. But make no mistake, every excuse is a dagger driven directly into the heart of your potential. Not one of them ever built an empire. Not one ever produced greatness. They only delay, dilute, and destroy. The man who becomes a master of excuses never becomes a master of anything else. He justifies his stagnation with elegant arguments. He blames the system, the weather, the timing, his past. He blames the tools, the teachers, the economy, but the one thing he never blames, the one place he never looks, is inward, and that is where the real war is lost. Excuses are seductive because they offer relief. They tell you it's okay to stop. They give you a scapegoat. They give you comfort when what you truly need is confrontation. But understand this, every time you give your excuse a seat at the table, you forfeit your power. You trade your throne for a pillow. You buy ease at the cost of execution. The man of action lives by a different law. He does not wait for perfect. He does not consult his emotions. He does not hide behind stories. He sees the obstacle, and he moves anyway. He sees the delay, and he executes anyway, because he knows the truth. Nothing changes until you do, and that change does not begin with motivation. It begins with responsibility. You must understand that an excuse is not a statement of reality. It is a declaration of surrender. It is you telling the universe, I could, but I won't. And the world, being brutally honest, responds in kind, then you don't deserve it. That's the deal. It's not personal, it's principle. You either act or you watch someone else act, and win. Excuses are the language of the average. They are the vocabulary of mediocrity, and the more fluent you become in them, the further you drift from your vision. You'll never hear the elite say, I would have, but, because they've trained themselves to eliminate that phrase from their lives, not because they never face problems, but because they never give those problems the authority to decide. Your dreams demand execution, not explanations. The world doesn't care about your reasons. It cares about your results. You will not be judged by your intentions, but by what you produce. You can explain why you didn't get it done, or you can get it done. You can't do both. The painful truth, most people would rather protect their ego than pursue their destiny. It's easier to explain failure than to risk looking foolish while chasing something real. But if you truly want to rise, you must choose exposure over excuses. You must choose forward motion over self-preservation, because excuses keep you safe, but they also keep you small. Every time you reject an excuse, you train your mind to obey your will. You teach your subconscious who's in charge. And over time, your default changes. You stop asking, can I? And start declaring, I will. You stop waiting for green lights and start building roads. That's how execution becomes identity. And the man who executes, who does the work day in and day out regardless of friction, that man becomes unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because he gets stronger. Because when excuses die, execution is born. And execution, above all, is what transforms potential into power. You become what you repeatedly do. You are not the product of your goals. You are the product of your habits. The world may praise dreams, but it pays discipline. And the man you become, your power, your results, your influence, is shaped not by what you occasionally do when you feel inspired, but by what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. Excellence is not an event, it is a pattern. A rhythm, a code you program into your nervous system through repetition. Every thought you allow, every action you take, every decision you reinforce. It's all casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. You are not stuck, you are sculpted, day by day, stroke by stroke. Show me a man's habits, and I'll show you his future. Not his wishes, not his potential, but his path. Because what you do daily determines what you become permanently. Your body is a reflection of your nutritional and physical habits. Your mind mirrors your learning and thinking habits. Your income, your relationships, your peace, all direct results of repeated action. There is no such thing as standing still. Every habit is moving you closer to power or pulling you back into weakness. Every repetition matters. It either reinforces your rise or deepens your rut. You may not notice the impact today. That's the trap. Habits don't shout, they whisper, but over time their voice becomes the loudest in your life. The average man ignores his habits because they feel small. He says, it's just one skipped workout, one more scroll, one more cheat day. But small things, repeated endlessly, become monuments. Brick by brick, you are building either a fortress of strength or a prison of regret. The elite understand this. That's why they ritualize excellence. They don't leave it to chance. They don't rely on willpower. They engineer their environment. They discipline their time, and they guard their focus. Because they know every repetition is a message to the mind. This is who I am. And once your identity locks in, your behavior begins to follow. You are always training yourself. The question is, into what? Every day, you're reinforcing a pattern. Are you training yourself to show up or to shrink? To persist or to pause, to execute or to excuse? Your actions are not random. They are rehearsals for who you'll be tomorrow. Greatness is not a mystery, it's a habit system. Champions are not created on game day. They are revealed. What you see in public is the harvest. What you don't see is the planting. Years of practice, structure, sacrifice, and relentless repetition. Not perfection, but consistency. And that consistency becomes character. Too many wait for motivation, not realizing that motivation is the result, not the requirement. Once you start moving, the engine heats up, but it is the habit that turns the key. Discipline is the builder, habit is the blueprint. You must decide what kind of man you wish to become, and then build the routine that makes him real. If you want to change your life, don't chase the big, master the small, the consistent, the daily. That is where transformation lies. Because in the end, your destiny is not written in moments. It's carved into the fabric of your routines, and your routines are either leading you toward who you were born to be, or away from him. Action is the only truth. Talk is cheap. Dreams are common. Plans are everywhere, but action, that's rare. That's where truth begins. A man is not measured by what he says he'll do, but by what he actually does. All intentions, all ideas, all affirmations mean nothing until they are forged into motion. Action is the dividing line between the delusional and the disciplined. You can study the game, you can visualize the victory, you can write down the goals, but if your hands don't move, if your feet don't step, if your will doesn't ignite, then it all dies as potential. And the graveyard is filled with brilliant potential that never dared to become performance. The world does not pay for what you think, it pays for what you execute. You can fool others with words. You can even fool yourself with beliefs. But action never lies. It tells the truth about your priorities. It tells the truth about your courage. It exposes what you really value. Because no matter what you say you want, your actions always prove what you're willing to pay for. Some men spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment. They wait for confidence. They wait for clarity. They wait for support. And while they wait, life moves. Opportunities pass, doors close, because they never understood the most powerful principle of all. Action creates clarity. Action creates confidence. Action creates momentum. There is no perfect time. There is only now, and now is a ruthless gatekeeper. It asks you, will you move or will you talk? The man who acts, even imperfectly, will go further than the genius who only theorizes. Because life rewards the doer, not the dreamer. The prize is reserved for the man in the arena, not the one in the stands. You were not born to hesitate. You were not designed to dwell in delay. Every instinct in you, when fully awakened, is meant for pursuit, for impact, for creation. But hesitation rewires the brain for weakness. The more you pause, the more doubt grows. The more you act, the more belief compounds. Belief is built through battle, not through books. You will never think your way into greatness. You must move your way into it. Every giant leap is built from daily steps. Every transformation is stacked from mundane, repetitive, unglamorous execution. The discipline to act when it's hard, to act when it's inconvenient. To act when no one applauds, that's the path to power. The ones who rise are not the most talented. They are not the most educated. They are the ones who dared to start and start again and keep going. While others sat and waited for signs, they moved. While others doubted, they built. While others watched, they conquered, not by magic, but by motion. You cannot steer a parked car, and you cannot steer a stalled life. Direction comes after movement. Progress comes after pressure. Success comes after repetition. You don't need more time. You need to start. You don't need more ideas. You need execution, because only action has the power to convert invisible thoughts into visible results. And in the end, history doesn't remember what you hoped to do. It remembers what you did. Your legacy is not built by potential. It's built by performance. Your character is not defined by your plans. It's proven by your persistence. And the bridge from who you are to who you could be is built only with action. Now stand up and claim the life that's been waiting for you, because if not now, then when?